Hello FX Sabers, Alex Gordon here, bringing you the latest tilt off of my bench. Had a little heart attack there. I thought the flash on clash wasn't working, and I was midway through the video. Turns out I forgot to set it up properly. It's working fine. It's hard to adjust to the CF6 SD card, but once you learn it, it's a lot easier than the old one was. Now, and if you have rice, then it's a piece of cake. Then you don't even have to think about it. But this saber, I just didn't see a logical place to put a rice port. So clearly, in front of you, you have the third Crystal Reveal Obi-Wan Phantom Menace saber that I've done. It's the only difference from the rest of the hilts, besides the standard variants, since some of this stuff is done by hand by Parks. The emitter is actually different up here. I like this one better than mine. And the pommel Parks did from scratch, he told me. So it looks a little bit different, but it's not too bad. Oh, here's a standard one. Oops. Not that high. There. I had to donate a few parts from my hilt to this one to accelerate the build a little bit. I didn't want to wait the extra week or two that it would take to get the parts before I sent this out. So I can't remember what it was. I think, what was it? Anyway, it doesn't matter. It wasn't anything important. Every piece in here is freshly scratch machined. The internal chassis on this one is much more rigid because I went into the build knowing that I was going to be able to mill everything at the end. So rather than have a long skinny tube going all the way up to the heatsink, it's about 0.8 inches all the way down to here, and then I just milled flat surfaces for the CF to fit and the wires to go by and such. Much more rigid. The can back here, the speaker can, besides having the grooves, the powder coated trans copper grooves, which I'll detail in a minute, is much thicker and more rigid because I use the 20mm TCSS speaker instead of the big fat rectangular one. Which it's a very nice speaker. I wish I could give it a proper resonance chamber in there, but it's close. On a standard saber, I'd like to give it another 1/4 inch, but this isn't a standard saber, so that was all I could squeeze in. In order to keep the spacing with the grooves here, so that it's aluminum, copper, aluminum, copper, aluminum, copper, aluminum, and have a long crystal, we opted for 4 bar graph LEDs visible, which I believe that's exactly what it is on mine and Juan's. So 4 visible LEDs straight on in the bar graph, and since the crystal is hooked up to pad 1 and the 6th and 7th pads on the bar graph are linked together, it just worked out perfectly. I'll go ahead and turn it on. Tri-Rebel blue, blue, white, which allowed for a shorter heat sink, shorter optics can, which gave a larger blade depth. I can't remember if I said it was 1 3/4 inches. Yeah, something like that. At least 1.5, which is much deeper than the previous one was. Oh no, wait, I measured it earlier. It was 1 3/8, and the previous ones were only 1 inch. So 3/8 of an inch is huge when you're talking about blade depth. The brass pieces here were machined a little bit differently. I used a parting tool which gave square grooves instead of a wedge-shaped cutting tool, which would cut wedge-shaped grooves in there. Just little touches I threw in to make it stand out from the other one, but this has the same modified Ace Rocket button right here. This is actually an Ace Rocket button, the knurled red button. It has the same aux switch that I did before. It does not have the brass Hemi jewel in here like my other ones had. I was not able to get an extra one of those. I think I just touched this brass rod in here. Get that fingerprint off. But, oh, and one more thing I wanted to mention of the hilts that I had. I don't know if I mentioned this. This had the smallest sound grip vents out of all three that I've worked on. So this one has the potential to be the quietest one. It's really not a noticeable difference. Let's see. Mine's on my bench. I had to give up the switch setup for this one rather than make Darth Morgus wait. I don't know, I mentioned that this is his saber. He was talking to me. We were discussing some stuff, and he brought up, you know, if I was ever looking to sell one, let him know he'd be interested. And I said, well, we could get going on a build ourselves and contact parks and whatnot. Luckily, Ledifer was able to get me his negotiator saber. That's what the designated name is. Yoda uses them for his negotiator hilts. So he was able to get me that hilt, and here we are. I don't know if it's 5 weeks later because spring break was in the mix, but it was a very quick build compared to the year that it took for mine. And that's also why there isn't an LED engine in here, and there was in the other one. It's because it was such a long build process that technology had changed and yada yada. So anyway, that's it. I'd cycle through the fonts and stuff, but it's the same as on my other one. You saw the flash. I guess I could stick a section of a blade in here. I just wanted to keep this short so that it doesn't take 3 years to upload to YouTube. There it is, nice and bright. Nice white flash. Oh, I don't know if I mentioned it. This set screw is one ring lower on the saber, and I really like that setup better. I couldn't have done that on mine because of the spacing issue, but on this one it works perfectly. So yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching, and I will see you guys later.